Whenever people think of the Mk8 Golf R, the comparison always starts here. And that makes sense. The Mk7 Golf R was one of the best hot hatches of the last decade. So naturally, people ask, is the Mk8 a facelift, or could it really be something better? The Mk8 features a revised EA-AAA engine, reworked all-wheel drive system, a sharper chassis, and a tech-heavy interior. On paper, it looks like the same formula, but just evolved. But here's the thing, the Mk8 R isn't just about being better than the Mk7. To understand this car's full history, you have to take a look back. A lot further back, all the way to 1989. Now, most of you die-hard Volkswagen enthusiasts have probably heard of the Golf Rally. 5,000 of these were made in 1989, and these were made for racing homologation. It features a G60 supercharged 1.8-liter engine and is equipped with synchro all-wheel drive. To many, this is the predecessor of the Golf R. But what if I told you that it wasn't? What if I told you there was a more accurate predecessor, also from 1989. It's called the Golf Limited, Volkswagen's ultimate halo Golf that you may have never even heard of. Rare, expensive, and engineered to be more than just a faster GTI. And in a lot of ways, the Mk8 R is the closest we've come to that philosophy in over 30 years. I'm Marissa Simos with FCP Euro, and today we'll cover everything you need to know about the Mk8 Golf R, its heritage, strengths, its weaknesses, and of course how it compares to the Mk7. But also, why it might be closer in spirit to the Golf Limited than most people realize. The Golf Limited was built in 1989, and it wasn't just a GTI with more power. While the Rally was raw and more motorsport focused, the Limited was refined, rare, and understated. It was Volkswagen showing what they could do if they threw all of their engineering know-how into one singular car. It had the G60 supercharged engine, synchro all-wheel drive, ABS, and a level of performance and exclusivity that made it the true halo Golf of its time. Only 71 of these were ever built, and they were never meant to be just another trim package. They were a statement. Now compare that to the Mk7 R. The Mk7 was a great car, arguably one of the best performance per dollar hatches ever made. But at its core, it was still very much an evolution of the GTI formula. The same EA-AAA engine, a Haldex all-wheel drive system, and a platform tuned for versatility. It was accessible, it was usable, but it wasn't necessarily trying to break any new ground. The Mk8 Golf R, on the other hand, feels like Volkswagen went back to the Limited's playbook. This isn't just about a small power bump, it's about redefining what the halo Golf should be in its era. You get a new generation EA-AAA engine, torque vectoring all-wheel drive, with true performance dynamics, drift mode, and a chassis that's been refined into something more sophisticated. It's a car that pushes into territory the Mk7 never aimed for. Not just a fast Golf, but a showcase of what Volkswagen can build when they let their engineers off the leash. So while most people see the Mk8 R as simply the next step in the Golf R's story, it's better understood as the modern reinterpretation of the Golf Limited, the ultimate halo Golf, updated for today. Let's start where it matters most, under the hood. If you're new to the Volkswagen world, the EA-AAA is more than just an engine code. It's the beating heart of nearly every performance-oriented Volkswagen and Audi model from the past 15 years. First introduced in the late 2000s, this turbocharged 2-liter 4-cylinder has powered everything beginning from the Mk5 Golf GTI, GLIs, to the Golf Rs, Audi A3s, S3s, A4s, and even some crossover and luxury models. Over time, it's gone through multiple generations, each one refining its balance of power, efficiency, and reliability. The Gen 1 and Gen 2 versions laid the groundwork in paper, but in practice struggled in the limelight as they were plagued with oil consumption, carbon buildup, and timing chain tensioner failure, amongst other issues. Once the Gen 3 revision came around, found in the Mark 7 GTI and Golf R, most of these problems had been ironed out, and the Gen 3 became a tuner favorite for its strength and responsiveness. Now the Gen 4, or Evo 4, takes that foundation and reimagines it for a new era of performance and emissions standards. The Mark 7 Golf R was powered by the EA888 Gen 3 engine, a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder that basically defined modern Volkswagen performance lineup. Around 292 horsepower in the US, it was quick, capable, and surprisingly durable.
Volkswagen just gapped a Hellcat.
It made the Mark 7 Golf R one of the best all-around daily drivable performance cars of its time. Now, the Mark 8 Golf R's EA888 Evo 4 engine might share the DNA with the Mark 7's Gen 3 motor, but it's completely reworked where it counts. The diverter valve now lives in the charge pipe instead of on the turbo, improving boost recovery and giving the car a sharper, more connected throttle response. The fuel system's pressure has been nearly doubled, from about 2,900 psi to 5,100 psi, delivering cleaner combustion and faster reaction to throttle inputs. Now, the biggest visual and performance change is the move from the Mark 7's IHI IS38 Turbo to a Continental unit featuring dual ball bearings, integrated cooling, and electronic wastegate. It spools quicker, runs cooler, and maintains boost longer, offering the headroom the IS38 never had without sacrificing responsiveness. Backing it all up is Volkswagen's new Simulus 19 ECU, a far more advanced engine management system that remodels torque and airflow in real time for smoother power and smarter safeguards. It was notoriously tough to tune at launch, but once unlocked, tuners found a huge amount of control and reliability potential. All told, the Evo 4 produces 315 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque stock, but thanks to these upgrades, it feels much stronger across the rev range. The EA888 Evo 4 delivers equal power to the Gen 3 EA888 around 500 RPM earlier on in the power band, and while that might sound like a small shift on paper, the reality is this, coupled with snappier throttle response, leads to a much more immediate feeling of power delivery. With just a tune, 400 plus horsepower is easily achievable in the Mark 8 platform. Proof that the Mark 8 isn't just an evolution of the Mark 7. Now, this refinement continues on into the drivetrain. Let's go take a look. First things first, aluminum subframe up in the front. But arguably the biggest change and the most substantial game changer for the Mark 8 platform is going to be the Magnetorque torque vectoring all-wheel drive differential here. Gone is the simpler Hull-Dex unit, which used to act like an on-off switch, feeding torque to the rear differential and distributing it evenly between both rear wheels. And here is Magnetorque's all-wheel drive system, which enables up to 100% of available rear torque to go to either rear corner. Now, you might think that this is only going to be fun in modes like drift mode on your local autocross pad, but this even aspires confidence in daily driving situations. Compared to the Hull-Dex system, this is going to make the Mark 8 feel so much more connected and united, whether you're going to be driving in drift mode, race mode, or just daily driving in comfort. But now let's talk about transmissions, because this is where the Mark 8R does something no one expected. When Volkswagen first announced the Mark 8 Golf R, Europe got one option: DSG only. That's it. No manual, no nostalgia, just paddle shifts. But in the US, something incredible happened. A single person inside Volkswagen of America refused to let that be the story. Her name is Mk8, part of Volkswagen's product planning team here in the United States. She fought, really fought, to get the manual transmission approved exclusively for the US market. Corporate Germany said it didn't make sense financially. Megan argued it wasn't about the numbers, it was about identity. About giving enthusiasts here something to believe in again. And she won. That's the sole reason why the 6-speed manual Mark 8 Golf R even exists. It's virtually the only time the US market got the cooler option, a true driver's car configuration that Europe never did. For once, the US got the better deal. all thanks to Megan. So let's see how the transmissions stack up. The 6-speed manual is rawer, lighter, and connects you to the car in a way no DSG can. The clutch is light, the gearbox is precise, and it feels like a link back to the analog days of the Mark 6, Mark 7, and the R32. The 7-speed DSG, on the other hand, is devastatingly effective. Faster shifts, smarter logic, and more integration with the torque vectoring rear diff. It's the quicker car bar none, and the one most buyers end up with. But the key takeaway is this. If you want to feel what enthusiasts at Volkswagen meant when they built the Mk8 R, that connection between heritage and technology, you owe it to yourself to drive the manual. It's the most authentic, enthusiast-focused Golf they've ever built in years, and possibly the last one that will ever be offered that way. If you want yours in a spec that is all around the most effective and convenient, the DSG is a phenomenal choice. We can't deny the DSG is a faster shifting option and can be equally fun in certain applications. So where the Mark 7's drivetrain was all about versatility and balance, the Mk8's is about immediacy and precision. The relocated diverter valve, the torque vectoring diff, the refined E888 Gen 4, all of it adds up to a car that's not just faster, but more alive. And that's where the Golf Limited comparison comes back in. Like the Limited, the Mk8 R isn't just an incremental upgrade, it's Volkswagen's way of showing what their engineers can really do when they aim to build the ultimate Golf. If the engine and drivetrain define how the Mk8 makes its power, the chassis is what defines how it applies it. And this, right here, is where you start to realize the Mk8 isn't just an updated Mark 7. It's a completely different experience behind the wheel. The Mk8 rides on Volkswagen's MQB Evo platform, an evolution of the chassis architecture from the Mark 7, but with major updates to stiffness, suspension geometry, and control systems. You get a 10% increase in torsional rigidity, revised subframe mounts, and lighter aluminum components, including the subframe. That might sound like small stuff, but it's what gives the Mk8 its composure and precision. And that's exactly why a Mark 7 front sway bar upgrade won't fit on a Mk8, so don't try. The DCC adaptive damping system also has come a long way. The Mk8 R runs the latest generation of DCC with 15 continuously adjustable settings. Not just a few pre-baked in modes like comfort or race. The car now reacts in real time to steering angle, throttle position, and the road surface, adjusting damping at each corner up to 200 times per second. That means the Mk8 can do something the Mark 7 never quite managed. It can be both composed and compliant. The steering feel is also sharper. The rack's ratio has been tightened slightly, and with the added rigidity of the front end, the car communicates more cleanly throughout the wheel. It feels more precise, more mature. And while the brakes look familiar, the pedal feel and brake bias have been retuned for a more progressive, confident bite thanks to the 2-pot piston upgrade on the front calipers and the factory 2-piece rotors. The Mk8 R's stopping power matches its higher performance ceiling, which combined with that tighter chassis, gives you a car that feels a lot more track ready out of the box, arguably making the Mk8 R a proper halo performance car for Volkswagen. With a bigger diameter, the caliper applies its clamping force farther from the center of the hub, which means it can generate more stopping power with less effort. Add in thicker rotor rings, 34 millimeters versus 30 on the Mark 7, and you get better heat capacity, less fade during hard driving, and a pedal that stays firm and consistent even after repeated stops. And speaking of stopping power, the Mk8's 2-piston front calipers are a huge step up from the Mark 7's single-piston setup, delivering dramatically higher clamp force and a much more confident bite when you really lean into the brakes. That being said, the magic of the Mk8 isn't in any one system. It's in how all of these elements work together. The extra rigidity, the quicker steering, the smarter damping, and the torque vectoring diff all build a car that feels cohesive. There's this underlying sense that the Mk8 wants to provide responsive feedback to the end user, not just grip. If the Mk8's drivetrain shows you how far Volkswagen's engineering has come, the interior shows you how far their ambitions have gone. Because when you step inside the Mk8 R, it's immediately clear. This isn't just a refresh of the Mark 7, it's a completely different philosophy. Gone are the analog dials and physical buttons that defined the Mark 7. In their place, you get a fully digital cockpit, a 10¼ inch configurable display, a massive central touchscreen, and haptic touch controls that replace virtually everything else. This is where the Mk8 takes its biggest leap forward and its biggest gamble. The early cars, especially 2022 models, got a lot of criticism for these touch-sensitive controls, and it's not hard to see why. They looked futuristic, but they took away that instant tactile feel that drivers loved about the older cars. Adjusting the temperature or volume suddenly required precision instead of instinct. Hopping into the car to find someone adjusted the seats to cool and the steering wheel to heated and the vents max defrost, you aren't going to get out of that situation all that quickly. We went ahead and we made an analog button conversion kit for the Mk8 owners that want to rid themselves of haptics because of just how much feedback we received on the interior for this platform. In fact, there are so many customization options, it would be impossible for them to all be displayed in a user-friendly interface. Obviously, the infotainment has a lot of subjective cons, but probably the worst part about that system is the amount of thoughtful Easter eggs the engineers baked into this system that are unintentionally hidden to a lot of Mk8 owners. Some of these features include interior lighting customization, the flexibility of volume control on the steering wheel itself. The button can be pressed, used as a slider, or simply held down, which functions similar to the sliding. You can tap the temperature buttons with both fingers, plus and minus, for seat heating. You can also leave manual mode by switching to the gear shift on automatic cars. You can quick mute audio by pressing the on-off button under the touchscreen. By doing a long press of the R on the steering wheel will get you into race mode. A short press will just bring you to the mode menu. All of these are hidden or adjustable after several clicks. So if you're expecting to understand the entire interface in one test drive, you will be sorely mistaken. But if you spend more time with it, the design starts to make sense. This layout was meant to modernize the Golf R into a digital-first driving environment. It's Volkswagen signaling that the R is no longer just the fast Golf, it's trying to be their technological showcase. The same mindset that gave the Golf Limited its advanced synchro all-wheel drive and digital controls back in 1989. Now, it's just wearing 21st century clothes. Beyond tech, the cabin itself is a huge step up in feel. The sports seats have deeper bolstering and blue R accents that make the interior feel genuinely special. The driving position is lower and more purposeful. The materials, especially in the door cards and in the dash, are more sporty looking than the Mark 7, even if the design language takes a little bit of getting used to. So love it or hate it, the Mk8's interior tells you exactly what kind of car this is. It's not just an evolution of the Mark 7, it's the future of the R lineage. It's not perfect, but it's ambitious. It's a car built to move the brand forward, even if that means taking risks. And it's just like the Golf Limited in that way. It redefines what a halo Golf looks like for its era. By now, you've seen what makes the Mk8 R impressive. But here's the truth. Owning one isn't just about performance or tech. It's about how it feels to live with, how it holds up, and how it compares to the Mark 7 when it comes to long-term reliability. Let's start with the big picture. Mechanically, the Mk8 R is built on the same EA-AAA architecture, but the Evo 4 might be the most refined and durable version of Volkswagen's turbo 4-cylinder yet. Compared to the Mark 7's Gen 3 version, it's got a stronger fuel system, integrated water-cooled exhaust manifold, and revised timing components that have proven to hold up well even under hard use. Gone are the frequent PCV and IS-38 turbo issues that haunted early Mark 7s. The Evo 4 Turbo, smaller and faster spooling, is much more reliable day to day. And that diverter valve relocation we talked about earlier, it's not just for snappier response, it also means less heat soak and fewer stress cycles on the turbo system. That translates to longevity. Now, we've got to talk about one familiar EA-AAA quirk, the water pump and thermostat housing. Yep, they're still the same troublemakers they've always been. And get this. With the latest design, it's actually normal to smell coolant sometimes, even if there's no visible leak. That's not a problem, that's a feature, apparently. If you want the full story on why this updated design still keeps us on our toes, head over to the Mk8 engine guide video where we go deep into all the gory details there. Another area to watch out for is the adaptive suspension, aka DCC. It's an incredible system, but the dampers and sensors can be costly if they fail out of warranty. The good news is they're far more durable than early systems on the Mk7. Most owners report no issues well past 60,000 miles, and the calibration is more consistent across drive modes. Still, if you're buying used, listen for clunks or check for uneven ride height. It's a good way to spot worn components. And we can't talk about reliability without mentioning the elephant in the room: software. Early Mk8s, especially 2022 models, had all kinds of infotainment bugs. Laggy touchscreens, random reboots, even climate control lockouts. But here's the good news. Volkswagen's been steadily patching these with over-the-air updates and major hardware revisions in the Mk8.5. By late 2023, most issues were resolved. Faster processors, new software architecture, and improved connectivity made the system far more stable. If you're buying used, check the software version or ask the dealer to flash the latest firmware. It's free and it makes a world of difference. While you're at it, double check for any open recalls. A few early build Mk8s had updates for both software and physical components, from sensors and modules to cooling parts. They're easy fixes, but they make a big difference in how the car drives day to day. Let's go over some buying advice and market outlook. When it comes to buying a Golf R today, you've got 3 really good options, each catering to a different kind of driver and budget. The Mk7 Golf R from 2015 to 2019 is still the budget-friendly performance option. You can find clean examples for under $30,000, and they're still quick, especially when tuned. The aftermarket is massive, parts are cheaper, and it's the most analog feeling of the 3 generations. But the trade-offs are real. No torque vectoring rear differential, older DCC tuning, less refinement in the chassis and electronics. You could make it faster than a Mk8, but it won't drive like one. The Mk8 Golf R, however, from 2022 to 2024 is the sweet spot for enthusiasts. This is the only generation to offer both the manual and DSG, and it's the first Golf R to feature torque vectoring, all-wheel drive, improved DCC logic, and a more responsive powertrain. If you want a manual, these are the years you're going to want to shop for, 2022 through 2024. The 6-speed cars are US exclusive and relatively rare, so clean examples will likely hold value well and eventually become a modern classic. The DSG cars, on the other hand, deliver consistent performance and faster lap times. Overall, expect prices in the $45,000 to $52,000 range, depending on the mileage and options. Mk8.5 Golf Rs are the refined, tech-heavy version. For 2025, the manual is gone. It's DSG only from here on out. The drivetrain and diff carry over from the Mk8, and pricing has officially entered $50,000+ territory. If you're not attached to the manual and want the most modern experience, this is your pick. But it's also the most expensive. The Mk8.5s also include special trim levels and additions, such as the Golf R Black Edition, which features darkened headlight elements and front grille, black R logos and Volkswagen logos on the front grille, front doors and rear hatch, 19-inch forged gloss black painted alloy wheels with summer performance tires, black painted brake calipers, black painted quad exhaust, genuine carbon fiber interior decor, and the only options are color and, if you want, Euro package, which includes a sunroof delete, a Kropovich titanium axleback exhaust system, cloth and art velour seating surfaces, and these seats still feature manually adjustable front seats with power recline functions. Now this totals all in all over $50,000 for the hot hatch. This isn't including any opportunity for dealer markups, if any are applied. Some buying tips for the Mk8s. If you're shopping for a DSG, check and see if it's been serviced every 40,000 miles. If you're shopping for a manual, make sure the clutch feels good and the synchros on the manuals are smooth and consistent. Cooling system, the water pump and thermostat assemblies are shared across generations. Inspect those for leaks as mentioned before. DCC suspension, check that all drive modes work. Failing dampers are pretty expensive. Infotainment updates. Early Mark 8s had software lag issues. Ensure firmware has been installed and updated. Pricing reality are the manual Mark 8 Rs are already trading at a premium. Expect them to stay that way as they'll likely be the next modern classic. And lastly, for our final take, if you want raw speed per dollar, buy a Mark 7. If you want the most balanced and capable all-rounder, buy a Mark 8 DSG. If you want the last truly driver-focused Golf R, buy a manual Mark 8 while you still can. And if you want the latest tech and refinement, the Mark 8.5 is your top shelf option, just be ready to pay for it. At this point, every Golf R is quick, but the Mark 8 lineup proves that how a car delivers its power is just as important as how much of it you have. Looking to purchase a Mark 8, we do have a pre-purchase inspection how-to video on our YouTube channel. Be sure to check it out if you want to know more on those specifics. If you found this guide helpful, subscribe for more in-depth coverage on the Mark 8 platform, including reliability upgrades, pre-purchase inspection how-tos, right here on FCP Euro's YouTube channel. Already purchased your Mark 8? Be sure to check out our bespoke maintenance and upgrade kits, along with our owner's guide for your Mark 8 on fcpeuro.com. As always, thank you guys for watching, and let us know, do you think the Mark 8 is a descendant of the Golf Limited, or just the Mark 7? I'm Marissa Simos. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll catch you guys on the next one.